let's go over the things that you need to have to do winter sowing. Of course, you're gonna need your seeds. These are the ones that are all new that I've purchased. And then all these in these containers are seeds that I've either saved from previous years or the packets of seeds. So I need to go through these and figure out which of the flowers, zinnias. You don't winter sow things like, I mean, I guess you could depending on when you started them, but like cucumbers, watermelons, pumpkins, gourds, those don't really need to have like a cold stratification period. Zinnias, I'm going to take those out. I've never tried to winter sow peppers or tomatoes, but I think I might try it this year just to see what happens. But I'm not going to do that the first winter sowing. I might do that probably the same week that I start seeds indoors. I'll winter sow some and just see what happens. It'll just be an experiment. I'll probably do some hot peppers, sweet peppers, and then a couple varieties of tomatoes just to see how that goes. In this tub, you could winter sow turnips, parsnips, kohlrabi, kale. You could winter sow herbs, parsley, basils. I will be doing that. I think I'm going to try winter sowing celery. Let's get that one out. I was thinking about winter sowing some cabbages, broccoli, and cauliflower and see how that goes, because I've never done that before. I think there might be some kales I want to do, so we'll get that out. Okay, so I got distracted. Sorry about that with my seeds. It happens almost every day of my life. Anybody else have that happen? You're like trying to do something and then you see some seeds and you're like, oh, let's look at those a little closer. Okay, so other things that you're gonna need your jugs. As far as jugs go, this is my favorite jug by far because it's really clear and it's got this really nifty handle. Most of these jugs are what's called Tampico, so it's like a flavored orange juice drink. Like, it's not really orange juice, but Hawaiian Punch. You can also use milk jugs, water jugs. So I have someone at my work is bringing me, her grandparents are saving me their jugs. And then my neighbor, he's given me a couple clear ones, but he's also given me these white ones. And I don't know if you can winter sow in these. So I'm going to try it. I'm not going to try it with anything that I'm like really excited that I definitely want to grow. But I might try some flowers and perhaps kale in these 3 jugs just to see if you can. So another experiment. That's what gardening, so much fun about gardening. You just try new things, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you know. Now, as far as the lids go, you don't need those, but I'm going to save these because I can make toys for my cats or my pet rabbit. So you need your jugs, and then you need your soil medium. So I have my seed starting mix right over here. Or you could use garden soil, compost, whatever you want. Usually what I'll do is I fill the bottom of the jugs up with garden soil and compost, and then at the very top where I want the soil to be loose and fluffy, I will use the seed starting mix and just like, you know, a real thin layer on the top where I'm going to place the seeds. Other things you're going to need. You're going to need a knife. You'll use this to cut open the jugs. Some packaging tape or duct tape. I use this to make the drainage holes. This is just got some plastic stuck to it right now, but this is just a soldering tool where you like solder metals or whatnot, but it melts plastic too. Then you're gonna need, of course, labels. So I've got a big box of labels here. I'm actually going to, for this project, be reusing some old ones. So I'll just cross off what I have written on here and then write the new thing on it. And then I use the back of old paint brushes. This is what I'll use to poke the seeds down into the dirt. Last thing you're gonna need is some sort of, because I will also label the tape. 2 labelings. So, you know, double sure I know what's in the jug. But I saw these at Lowe's the other day, and it's Sharpie Pro, and it says you can marks on wet and oily surfaces. And last year I had such a time because when you're filling these jugs up with the dirt and it's moist or it's already damp, then the jugs get damp, and you see there's some liquid in the jugs. And so then when it was time to label these or label the tape, they were wet. So then I had to dry them. But this says I can just label them while it's wet. So we're going to see how these go. But then I also have just industrial Sharpies. So those are all the things you're going to need. I'm super excited to do this video. I've been wanting to do this video since I opened up my winter sewing from last year. Last year, I only did, I think it was like 15 or 18 jugs. And it was the first time I'd ever winter sewn, and I was incredibly successful. And so I have been saving all my jugs in anticipation of doing this. It's such an easy thing to do. I wish I had been doing it ever since I started to garden, because it really gives you a head start on things. And it's so easy. It's just plant the seeds and then walk away. Why is it so easy? Let's go back. So if you think about volunteer plants, or how does that happen? We'll go with a tomato plant. At the end of the season, you're kind of tired and you're done with things, and you leave some of the tomatoes on the plant. Eventually the plant rots or it dies of frost. Then those tomatoes will fall to the ground. The actual fruit will rot away, leaving just the seeds. Then what happens? Well, with rain and snow, it kind of compacts down the seeds into the dirt a bit. Then, as spring starts and the temperatures are just right for those seeds, whatever they might be, tomatoes, squash, whatever, those seeds will sprout. And you did nothing. Mother Nature did it all. And basically that's what winter sowing is, except it's in a more controlled type of way. You're taking a jug, you're putting dirt in it, and then you're planting the seeds, and then you're sealing the jug up, leaving just an opening where water can get in. And then you do nothing. You just wait. It creates like a mini greenhouse. So the temperature in here is a little bit more warmer than it is outside. So you can get them going a little bit earlier than if you were to plant them in the ground. And I believe last year I watered my jugs maybe twice. That was it. It was January 30th. I planted the jugs. I did a video on my winter sowing, it was called Winter Sowing Reveal. So I opened up all the jugs on camera and did a video. I will link that one down below. Other than watering them twice, I just sat them outside and then walked away. And every once in a while, I would take a peek inside the little hole and try to see if I could see anything in there. So I'm going to be winter sowing all kinds of stuff this year. I'm continuing to collect jugs. As I collect more jugs, I will winter sow again and again. But today I'm going to get started with some of them. I have a bunch already pre-prepared in the greenhouse. I think 50, 60, somewhere around there. And they're sitting in the greenhouse, and I just wanted to get them started, so I prepared them. But I still have all these that I've collected since then that I need to cut and fill with soil and get them ready. So I'm going to show you how I do that. I have a whole lot of flower seeds I want to do. I'm going to do a bunch of Swiss chards. So Swiss chards I will be able to plant into the garden beds within a couple of months, whereas the other stuff like flowers and things, I'm going to have to wait until after the last frost, because you don't want your plants to be killed. So if they're not frost hardy, just leave them in the jugs. But you're going to want to look at the back of your seed packets, because there are some seeds that you don't actually plant. Some seeds you just sprinkle on the top of the dirt. Those will mostly be like very, very tiny seeds. Like if you can barely hold the seed in your hand, you're probably just laying it on the top of the dirt. If they're much bigger, usually it's twice as deep as large as the seed is. So here's a Swiss chard seed. And so you would plant that twice as deep, as big as the seed is. You don't want to bury them too deep because they run out of energy trying to get to the surface. I have jugs I got to prepare, so let's do that first. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my soldering tool here and I'm going to poke some drainage holes in the bottom. You have to have drainage. Your seeds will rot if they're sitting in water too long. I'm just taking my little soldering tool and melting 4 little drainage holes, just like that. And I'll do that for every single jug. Now you could use a knife or something to try to poke holes in the bottom and create drainage, or use a drill with a drill bit. I just find this is really quick and easy. This heats up really fast and it just melts through the plastic like it's butter. also going to throw this in too. I saw where you could use like those big gallon Ziploc baggies. So I think this is 2-gallon Ziploc baggie. And I saw where they, again, just put a couple of little holes on each side. And then they filled the bag with, they filled like the bottom part with dirt and then planted their seeds there. Now this would be, I'm trying it out for the first time this year to see how well it works. But I feel like at the end of the season, if you wanted to like reuse the bags, this takes up a lot less space because I am reusing all the jugs that I used last year. They take up a lot of space, especially I'm gonna reuse them again this year and try to use them next year. I have like 100 jugs. This would be a much better like space saving way to do it. But they just had them all like, it was like a clothesline type deal, and then they had them clipped to the clotheslines, hanging upright on the clotheslines. So I'm gonna try it out. But I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, it's the same kind of thing, plastic inside, creating a greenhouse effect. I guess you would put a couple of little holes in the top too, so that, but you might have to water these more. I don't know. We'll have to find out. The next thing that you're gonna do with your jugs is you're going to cut them open. For these, with the handle, you're gonna start right about the handle here, or right below where it starts to like indent. And then you just go all the way around. To the other side of the handle. So you don't want to cut it all the way off, but if you did by accident, you could still tape it shut. Then this just kind of bends back for you to fill it. Same thing for these. Since it's got 4 sides, you just cut 3 of the sides and leave the 4th side attached. So I just kind of go in the middle. Just be careful when you're using a knife. So you want to cut it to where it will bend back. So I need to cut this a little bit more. Okay, see, that will bend back there. Okay. So I'm going to just keep doing that for the rest of them. This might take a little bit. Okay, so once you have all your jugs all cut up, well, cut, then you are going to fill them with dirt. Now, these are the ones that I had pre-filled. On the bottom 3/4 of it, I have what's called garden soil. I get from a local nursery, and it's got mushroom soil mixed into it. It's got sand, a lot of peat moss, a lot of compost. And then on the very top layer, I have my seed starting mix. I actually brought these in from the greenhouse, and the bottom part, the part that has the garden soil and the compost, is actually frozen solid. But the top part is still workable because it's just the peat moss and vermiculite and some perlite. I'm still gonna sow some seeds in them. I dampened them a little bit with just a little bit of water. I will fill all the jugs. I think I'm gonna let them kind of thaw. What I'm going to sow, I'm going to do Oriental Lantern Snapdragon. I'm going to do Creme de Cassis Hollyhock. I'm going to do a Redmond Super Cactus Zinnia. All of these in one jug. I'm just going to sow a few seeds in each corner. So there's 4 corners, I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do Pink Swiss Chard, Ford Hook Giant, Magenta, and Ruby Red Swiss Chard. Last jug, I'm going to do Brussels sprouts. So let's do the kale first. So kale seeds are pretty large, which makes them easy to sow. So I'm going to take a few of the seeds here. Probably like, I don't know, there's probably like close to 10 right here. And I'm just going to pick one corner and lay them down in there. And then I'm going to take the little end of this little paintbrush and I'm going to press them down into the dirt twice as deep as they are wide. Now I'm making a label to go inside the jug. This is a little hard to do one-handed. Ford hook and magenta. So this is going to go on the inside, right there. And then we're going to either duct tape or packaging tape. We're going to tape this up. So I start where it's not cut. And I usually go around a couple of times. And then you're going to cut tape. So you just want to make sure it's sealed really well. And then I am going to label the outside. And I'm going to give it a number. So number 1. And so I'm going to label it Swiss chard. And I'm just writing on the tape. Then in a notebook, I'm going to also write down number 1 is Swiss chard and the types of Swiss chard I have in here. So I wrote it all down. Number 1 is Swiss chard, magenta, ruby red, blah, blah, blah. So this is how I'm going to keep track of what I've already got started in jugs so I can continue to winter sow things as I collect more jugs and I don't do like repeats unless I want to. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to set this outside behind the pool. So tomorrow it's supposed to warm up into the 50s and I should be able to get these all done because right now I can't fill the jugs I just cut because when I went out to fill them up, the ground or the garden soil is frozen solid. So I can't, like it's like a rock hard. So tomorrow I'm hoping it all thaws and I can fill those and finish the jugs that I have. I think that's pretty much everything. It's as easy as that. If you're having an incredibly dry winter, you're going to want to water them. Like I said, I only watered a few times last year. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, or it has inspired you to do something like this, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe because I will be doing updates probably in vlogs of everything. I update on the things that I do in my videos in my vlogs. I hope you all stick around and find out what does well, what might not do so well. And until the next one, I hope you all enjoy your day. Bye. Of an overview of what I am going to be sewing in my jugs. I've already sewed a few. Cherry Twist Snapdragon, some Comfrey, Agastache. And then I'm gonna do all the black flowers. I'm gonna winter sow for my black garden bed. I'm gonna do this year. It's gonna have all the black flowers in it. Got some really pretty zinnias, pink senorita, poppy. Do a couple different kinds of parsley, a lace flower, bunch of different basils. Basil, Chinese sweet, mammoth, licorice, lemon, lime, cinnamon. I already sewed in a couple of jugs. Siam, sweet, I believe. I'm gonna do some kales. I'm gonna try this in the jugs, tassoi, some cabbage. I'm gonna try celery, and then I don't even know what these are, so I'm just gonna sew them a jug and we'll see what pops up. More different colorful Swiss chards, some cauliflower, and some red cabbage.